Hi folks, this is Karim Raouf from our IT Visualizer channel. We will continue our lab, the Matrix Lab. This is the video number 8. I've been discussing in the previous video the following. We have been still working on how to apply 6 of the most famous group policies in any multinational organization. We have seen that we have 6 or 7 famous group policies. You should see any one of these group policies implemented in most of the multinational corporations. For example, we can see that the default to domain policy is the most famous one, and it is created by default after installing Active Directory domain services and promoting the server to be a domain controller. This is one of the most famous group policies applied on all of the domains or Windows domains. Okay, this is, we have said before, it is very famous, and it is like the constitution of the domain. It contains all of the generic settings that should be applied to all of the users and computers in the domain. We have discussed in details all of the 7 group policies: the mapping policy, the WSOS policy, classic shell policy admin, classic shell policy limited, advanced users group policy, and the default users group policy. We have created all of these group policies. First of all, it is already there. We have imported the configuration directly to this group policy. We have a backup of previous group policies from a previous lab. I have imported these backup group policies, their configuration, to my newly created group policies. Okay, so this is applied to the default domain policy and mapping policy and the same. So if you need to import a group policy, you should first create a blank group policy, then import the configuration from a backed up group policy. Okay, there is no direct way to import directly the group policy. You should create a blank group policy and then import the configuration from a backed up group policy object. Okay, the only one that you should not need to create, because it is already there, is the default domain policy and the default domain controllers group policy. You can directly import the setting directly to the group policy. Okay, you should not create it because it is created there by default. Anyway, we have done all of this and we have stopped at linking these group policies. So today we need to link the group policies to the organizational units and define what are the objects that these group policies will be applied to in this OU or in the linked OUs. Okay, we should define if it is a group or it is a computer or it is a user. Okay, so let's go and see how this will be done. So here we have stopped the last time at this. We have already imported all of the group policies, and now one of the most famous group policies applied is the interactive login message. This is a message that all of the multinational corporations apply or implement. This is like a warning message, or let's say a welcome message, to any user that is accessing a domain in a multinational corporation. It will say the name of the domain, then like a warning message, unauthorized access or use of this system is prohibited. All access and use may be monitored and recorded. So if any outside user try to access these domain systems or joined domain systems, he should read this warning. Okay, so this is only, or the access is only for authorized users. Okay, not for unauthorized users. Okay, so we need to modify the default domain policy. Okay, because this is applied through the default domain policy. This is a generic message, should be applied to all of the computers and users, so it can be configured through the default domain policy. Okay, so this we need to change it from patient 0 city, and we put the domain name and we leave the message as is. So let's go and see how we can do that. But before doing that, I need to make a note here. In the previous video, I have imported here. This is the default domain policy that I have imported it. This is an old default domain policy. I have this configured in 2019. So there may be a lot of changes concerning, or security changes that that happened during these years. So you need to change your default domain policy according to the newly security standards. So for example, this is my old default domain policy. You can see, for example, that the maximum password age is 90 days. According to the Department of Defense of the United States, today in Windows Server 2022, okay, maybe 2 years before, we can see that the maximum password age is 60 days. So there is a change in the security standards. Here, this was 90 days, and today it is 60 days. It is the recommendation. So we need to make sure if you are applying or importing an old default domain policy that you have backed up maybe from a couple of years, you need to modify it and change it according to the newly security standards. So you can go to the Department of Defense and download the Windows Server 2022 domain controller group policy and see the changes or the differences. Okay, so you can see that. And when 2025 is released, you should also download the domain controller group policy and compare and see what are the changes. So you should not guarantee, okay, your or you should not take your default domain policy for granted. You need to frequently revise it and update it with the newly security standards. Okay, so this is one note to take into consideration. So let's go and see how we will change this message. This is the first thing we need to take note. Then another change we can see here after applying the default domain policy, we will see that we don't have users to choose from. This is one of the security or best security practices, not to leave any users displayed in the Windows operating system, or not to let the Windows remember the last 2 users that has logged into the machine. This is best practice for servers and for workstations. So why we do that? Because simply I can choose one of the users and type or mistype the password a couple of times, then the account will be locked. Okay, this will not happen unless, or if, this will not happen if I force the user to put his username and password. Okay, so this is a good practice. Do not leave users, or do not let Windows remember the last couple of users logged into the machine. Okay, this is not a best practice, and it can harm your account, or it can lock your account. So the best practice is to do that, and this is configured within the default domain policy. You can revise the setting. I have already the default domain policy that I am working with in the lab. It is in the Google Drive link. You can see the report and see the section concerning this point in specific. So we will put the username and password. So you can see he is applying a lot of group policies. Okay, group policy, regional options, group policy, power management options. Okay, there is a lot of things you can apply through the default domain policy. The generic setting that you need to apply to all of the workstations and servers in the domain. Okay, this can be applied also to computers and users. Okay, we can see here first there is no desktop background because we need to apply it. We need to apply 3 group policies to apply 3 different desktop backgrounds to 3 different computer groups. We have hovercraft computers. We need to have a desktop background for them. We need to have the simulation computers to have another desktop background. As for Xeon computers, we have a third background. All of them will share the same screensaver, but everyone will have a different desktop background. Again, we can see that we will see some crashes concerning this operating system because it is not compatible with VM Workstation Pro. This is a per-view release, and we can see here this is the build is 26040. We need to frequently download the latest Windows Server 2025 Data Center per-view edition, because there is changes and they are updating this per-view edition. For example, if you go to this website, okay, which is called Windows Change or changewindows.org, we will see that 2640, it was released 26th of January 2024. Today, or the last update, if we can see here, was 27th of March. It is 26085.1. So this is the latest per-view edition, and it is a Canary edition. This is one of the things I need to understand, because what is the difference between per-view and Canary? So we can see that my build here, that 26040 was a Canary edition. Okay, it was a Canary edition. If we go there and see, it tell you this is the pre-release or this is a preview edition. So what is the difference between a preview and the Canary edition? Okay, the one that I'm currently working with is a Canary edition. It's not a preview edition. Okay, so what is the difference between a preview and the Canary? Let's see. The preview edition is 26010. This is the preview edition. As for the Canary edition, it is 26085.1. This is the latest one. The one I am working with currently and having a lot of issues with it, it is 26040.100. So when I go and ask ChatGPT for what does Canary means when it is described or attached to Windows Server vNext 2025, let's see what was the answer of ChatGPT. And I try to compare between uh, what is a Canary and what a Canary edition and what is a preview edition. Let's see.
The term Canary, when associated with Windows Server vNext 2025, refers to the early release channel within the Windows Insider program. This Canary channel is designed to provide users with the earliest preview builds of the upcoming Windows Server releases. The primary purpose is to test new features and changes ahead of more stable releases, and it allows Microsoft to gather feedback and make adjustments before broader distribution. This Canary channel is akin to a canary in a coal mine, serving as an early indicator for potential issues or bugs in the software. Participants in this channel receive updates that are at the cutting edge of development, which can be less stable but feature the latest innovations from Microsoft. This is particularly useful for developers and IT professionals who need to prepare for upcoming changes in Windows Server or who may wish to influence the development through feedback, 31 source, 34 de source. For more detailed information, you can visit the Windows Insider Program's official page here at learn.microsoft.com, Windows-Insider business/server-get started.
So we can see it saying this is the less stable version of Windows because it contains the latest features or innovation of Microsoft. So it is less stable. So this is why we can see this crashes and this things. If we try to tell him to explain in more simple terms, so we can just comprehend or accept or to understand what is a canary.
The term canary in Windows Server vNext 2025 Canary refers to a special early version of the software. This version is sent out before the regular or final version to test and find any big problems or bugs. It's like sending a canary into a coal mine to make sure it's safe. This helps Microsoft fix issues before releasing the software to more people. It's great for people who want to see the newest features first and help improve the software by giving feedback.
So the canary, it is a special version of Windows or Windows software, that it is contains experimental features that need to be tested by developers or professional users. Okay, and why it's called Canary? Canary, it is a way that coal mine workers do to make sure that the air in the mine field is healthy. So they take a canary bird and release it in the mine or the coal mine and see if it's not sick or it does not get sophisticated or it do not get sick, then that means that the air in the coal mine is fresh and uh, it is not bad. So they take a canary and put it in the coal mine. If it breathes normally, then the air in the coal mine is fresh and healthy. Okay, so this is the same for the Canary edition. This is released for uh, a couple of users or developers which will act like the canary bird. They are testing the software to see if it is good or not, like the canary bird testing the air in the coal mine. Okay, so this is what the canary version means. So if we try to tell him the difference between the preview edition and the canary edition, let's see what is the answer of ChatGPT.
The Windows Server vNext 2025 Preview and Windows Server vNext 2025 Canary refer to different stages within the Windows Insider program for upcoming versions of Windows Server. 1. Windows Server vNext 2025 Preview. This version is part of the preview builds that are released to the Windows Server Insider community. These builds are somewhat stable and include new features that are almost ready for public release, but still need testing on a wider scale to catch any remaining issues or bugs. The preview builds are intended for users who want early access to new features, but with a lower risk of encountering major bugs. 2. Windows Server vNext 2025 Canary. The Canary builds are the earliest and most experimental releases available to insiders. This channel is intended for testing the cutting-edge changes that are not yet fully polished. These builds can be unstable and are best suited for developers or IT professionals who need to test the latest features or who wish to contribute to the development process by providing early feedback. The Canary channel serves as an early warning system to identify potential problems that need to be addressed before features are rolled out to more users. In simple terms, the preview view builds are closer to what the final product will be, offering a balance between early access and stability, while the Canary builds are much more experimental, aimed at catching bugs early in the development process and iterating quickly based on user feedback.
So we can see here the Canary is more unstable. As for the preview, it is more stable, okay, and it will be closer to the final product. So the final product will look like the preview edition. So the final edition can look very similar to the preview edition. As for the Canary, it is unstable and it is not, or it will not look like the final product. There may be a lot of changes. So this is the differences between the Canary edition and the preview edition. So what you are working currently with, it is the Canary edition, okay? The preview edition, it's not this version. So what we need to do now, we need to configure the desktop backgrounds group policy to be applied and to configure a couple of group policies, or not to configure, we have already imported them, but we need to change some setting in these imported group policies. So let's see what we need to do. First of all, we will see it is crashed again. This is normal, so we need to power off the machine and open it back. You can see it is hanged completely. So I need to power off the machine and open it back. Again, we are opening the virtual machine. It will take a little bit of time to apply the different group policies, and we will see later that we can make this process much faster, so we can make the group policy implementation to be quicker than that by doing some changes. So we'll see that later in upcoming videos. We can see there is a lot of policies to be applied. Registry policy, power options policy. Now we can open Control Alt Delete. This is the interactive login message. We'll put the username. So we can see this is the shutdown event tracker. The reason why this PC was closed unexpectedly or closed in improper way, this will be logged in the event viewer. So we will see this as a log, or it will be written in a log file in the event viewer. So this is good to trace the problems if you have power options within the server or the virtual machine. So now we'll open the console and change the interactive login message to reflect our currently domain setting or our currently domain name. So let's see. Here's the default domain policy. We need to edit it. Here I'm just trying to see if I have no internet, but this is not an issue to bother ourselves with, because it is already, we have already internet access. Right click the default domain policy and edit it. So this will take a little bit of time. We see the virtual machine is very slow because we have only 2 GB of RAM assigned to this virtual machine. This system appears to be more like the Windows 11 operating system, which needs a lot of RAM. You have minimum to have, for a Windows 11 virtual machine or a physical machine even, you need to have 4 GB of RAM at least for the operating system to work properly. So this virtual machine to work fast, at least we need to have 8 GB of RAM assigned to it, which is a resource that I don't have. I have already 8 for the whole laptop, so I can only assign for each virtual machine 2 GB of RAM and 2 for my host or for my laptop. So this is the thing I spare, or this is the amount of RAM I can spare. So now we can go to the Windows setting, and then we go to the security setting, security or local policies, then security options. Here we can see the different security options. Here is the interactive login message. This is the title. We need to change the title. The message itself, or the body of the message, we will not change it. Matrix domain, or the matrix domain. So now we will have our message changed. And another thing, we need to disable a couple of options in the default domain policy. This was backed up from a previous lab. In the previous lab, I have one desktop background applied to all of the PCs in the domain. Okay, in our lab scenario, it is different. We need to apply 3 different desktop backgrounds to 3 different Active Directory computer groups. So I need to disable this setting, or the desktop background setting, from the default domain policy, and create 3 different group policies to apply and attach them to the 3 different computer groups to apply 3 different backgrounds. Okay, so this will be our scenario. We need to disable all of the things related to the desktop background and screensaver from the default domain policy and apply them to 3 different group policies. Okay, so this is one thing. Again, we can see, or we can notice that, remember, when I have my Active Directory login script, when it was applied, we will see every time I apply the script, there is a message appearing saying that I will apply this script, and this script needs to run a certain registry key. Should I allow it to be run or not? Yes or no? This was a headache because this lets the user choose whether to apply the script or not. I need to disable these options not to appear for the user. How this is done? This is done through the default domain policy, as we can see when I logged in now, this message disappeared. It will not let me choose either to apply the Active Directory login script or not. It was applied silently, and no notification was appearing for me. How this was done? If you go to this setting, let me show you, or where is this setting resides in the default domain policy. This resides in a section called User Account Control. Let me go to the section user account control. So this is why the message didn't appear. User account control, it is a mechanism in Windows that any script or any process that will change, especially if it is from an application. If any process concerning an application or a script or anything that will play with the operating system and make changes, the user account control will ask you to allow it or not. This is useful if you are suspicious about malware or something. This is a good thing, okay, to have this option activated. But sometimes it's interfere with some programs like antiviruses that need to scan the operating system and do some changes. For example, if there is a virus, if he needs to remove the virus, this will interfere with the work of some software. I have already in my environment this user account control was interfering with the McAfee software, or antivirus, and so we need to close it or not to close it. In general, some options of it need to be closed. So this is the perfect setting that was working with me properly in my environment. Okay, you can uh, see it and see what is suitable for you and test it and see if it will work with your environment. So this is the setting, okay, and you can revise the report and see these options. So these options help me not to uh, every time I apply an Active Directory login script, not every time to say yes or no, especially if there is in the script there is some lines that will run some registry keys or some software. Okay, so this is a good thing. The Active Directory log script will do some changes to the operating system through the registry. So this will make the user account control come to the surface and begin interfering with the script or the Active Directory login script. So this is how we disable, not to disable, to upcome or to overcome this issue. Okay, using these settings. Okay, revise them and see if they are appropriate or not. Okay, so another thing I think we can let me do something here, guys. I will try to copy this setting and ask the AI if this setting is good or not. Let's wait for a moment. Let's ask ChatGPT, is this setting uh, uh, is this setting in align with the best practices or not? Let's see if this GPO, let's tell him to do that. So let's see, because actually I can argue with these recommendations because some of them have already done some interfere in my environment. So some of these options, if it is recommended to be disabled or enabled, or some of them it is recommended to be enabled, but they interfere with the work of my environment. So let's see first of all, what does he say? He says that not of them entirely, so saying that is not entirely aligned with the best practice for securing the environment. Here is a breakdown of the potential issues and recommendations. Admin approval mode for the built-in administrator account disabled. Disabling admin approval mode for built-in administrator account is not recommended. This setting should ideally be enabled to require all administrators to operate in admin approval mode, which provides an additional layer of security by requiring elevation for administrative tasks. So every time you need to run a program through the administrator account. Okay, so you are logging in as an administrator, a local administrator or a domain admin administrator. Anytime you run a program that will change something in the setting, you need to be, or it will be prompted for yes or no. So this is very, very headache. Every time you open the McAfee, you'll be asked open the McAfee or not. If you run a script, local administrator, you need to tell it to run or not, yes or no. It will not block it, but it will ask you to allow it or not. This is very, very headache, and this will do a lot of problems. Okay, let's go to the other setting. Is saying that allow UI access applications to prompt for elevation without using the secure desktop disabled. This is aligned with the best practice and is prevent applications for bypassing the secure desktop during elevation prompts, which can help mitigate the risk of the credential theft from spoofed dialogues. Okay, so here this is one thing. When you are a normal user, okay, and you are running a program that needs administrative privileges, you will be prompted to put administrative credentials to run the program. During that process, the desktop will be locked. You will not be able to do anything unless you put administrative account or administrative user privileges. Okay, so this is a good thing, and this is disabled. And actually, you need to disable elevation as a whole. You do not want to have any program that needs to be with to run with administrative privileges to prompt you for a username and account. This can be risky because the machine that this process will happen on can be hacked, especially if it is a normal workstation. Okay, it's not a server. So anyway, this is disabled, so we are already disabling this. Here he's saying this should be enabled, but I told you this should be disabled because it does a lot of harm in our network. Behavior of the elevation properties for administrator approval prompt for consistent for non-Windows binary. This setting is reasonable but higher for security environment. Setting this to prompt for credentials may be more secure, ensuring that the administrator validates their credentials before making changes. I think this is the same as this one. It will ask you to prompt for yes or no if you are running non-Windows binaries. Okay, anyway, so these two, uh, we have this one, I think, enabled. This should be enabled, as he say, but I prefer to be disabled. So let's see the behavior here. If you go to the behavior, and this one, behavior for non, where it is for, uh, which one, for non-Windows, where is the non-Windows here? Non-Windows, elevation, desktop, installed, secure. Where is the none here? Approval prompt UI, behavior of elevation. Yes, here is this one. Prompt for non-consistent non-Windows binary. So here, elevation will be asked if you are running a non-Windows binaries. Okay, so this is one thing, a good thing. Then behavior for elevation for standard users. Here also, we need to disable this. Any standard users, if you're trying to run a program that needs administrative accounts, he will not be prompted. He will be blocked completely. He will not be able to run if there is a program that needs administrative privileges. It will say to him a message that you are not allowed to run this program. This should be run with administrative privileges and okay, and that's it. It will not prompt for administrative accounts, because if you put the administrative account or account data on this machine, this can be hacked and it can be stolen. Your administrative account can be stolen. Detect application installation prompt for elevated. This is enabled to ensure authorized. Okay, this is detect application is a prompt for elevation. Okay, I think it will ask for elevation, but it will not give the message. I think this is one thing. Okay, only elevate executables that are signed and validated disabled. Okay, this setting is not aligned with the best practice. It's safer to enable the setting so that only signed executables can be elevated. Okay, again, here I am not telling you to ask for elevation for signed and validated programs. Okay, this is why I need elevation. Okay, for validated and signed programs. Maybe this for standard users, and as we said before, we will not do that anyway. So we will disable that. We have already we said say we only will run if you need to run a program with administrative privileges. You need to log off of the user account and log in with your administrative account and run the program. only elevated access applications are installed in secure locations enabled. You will not, you will only elevation will be done if you are running programs from secure locations. Okay, this is good. So we can see that we have two settings, setting number 6 and setting number 1. It is not with the best practice. Running all administrators in admin approval mode disabled. This setting should be enabled. It ensures that even administrators receive prompts after executing the task. Again, this is not, this will be a headache. Okay, as we said before. Switch to secure desktop when prompting for elevation. Okay, this is secure desktop. This is a best practice again. Virtualize. So let's tell him to explain in simple terms. In simple terms, every point. So we can see it's giving a very, very good explanation. Let me ask ChatGPT to explain or to read it loudly and see what is the answer here. Okay. Let's read it loudly.
Here's a simpler explanation for each of the user account control UAC settings you mentioned. 1. Admin approval mode for the built-in administrator account. Disabled. Normally, even administrator accounts should ask for permission before making changes that affect the whole system. Disabling this means the built-in administrator account can make changes without asking, which isn't safe if someone misuses this account. 2. Allow UI access applications to prompt for elevation without using the secure desktop. Disabled. This setting makes sure that when programs ask for permission to make changes, they do so in a secure way that's harder for malicious software to interfere with. 3. Behavior of the elevation prompt for administrators in admin approval mode. Prompt for consent for non-Windows binaries. This means if a program that's not part of Windows needs to make changes, the system will ask the administrator to approve it first. It's a way to keep an eye on what non-Windows programs are doing. 4. Behavior of the elevation prompt for standard users. Prompt for if a regular user needs to do something that requires admin privileges, they must enter admin credentials. This stops regular users from making critical changes without proper permissions. 5. Detect application installations and prompt for elevation enabled. The system will ask for approval before allowing any new software to be installed. This is a security measure to prevent unwanted or harmful software installations. 6. Only elevate executables that are signed and validated. Disabled. Ideally, this should be enabled to ensure that only safe and verified programs can ask for permission to use administrative privileges. Disabling it means any program, verified or not, can ask for these permissions. 7. Only elevate UI access applications that are installed in secure locations. Enabled. This makes sure that only applications from safe locations on your computer can bypass certain security checks. It's a good way to keep potentially harmful apps in check. 8. Run all administrators in admin approval mode. Disabled. Turning this on would mean that even administrators get prompted before making system changes, which adds an extra layer of security by making sure every change is intentional and approved. 9. Switch to the secure desktop when prompting for elevation. Enabled. This switches to a secure screen to keep the elevation prompts safe from any interference by other programs, making it more secure. 10. Virtualize file and registry write failures to per-user locations. Enabled. If a program tries to write to a system location and fails, this setting redirects the write to a user-specific area instead. It helps prevent programs from accidentally or maliciously changing system settings. These settings help control how software and users interact with important system settings, enhancing the security of the computer.
So we can see here there is only two setting. We can see this is the explanation of every setting. We have only two of them that is not aligned with the best practices or best security practices, which is number one, okay, it should be enabled, admin approval, and number six, if we go further, okay, let's go to number six, this should be enabled. So only elevated executables are signed and elevated, and the admin approval. Okay, I have this disabled because, as I said before, it will interfere with my work in my environment. Sometimes the antivirus or some programs will be interfered or will be interrupted if these two settings are enabled. Let me ask the AI another question. I have a problem with some programs like antivirus programs. So I have disabled option 1 and 6, especially McAfee. Okay, so say that this can solve a problem, but it will allow your computer to be compromised. Let's ask it to uh, give me a summary uh, give me some uh, let's see, some, we need to say it, give me some opinions from famous IT professions concerning using user account control in real life and the problems they face. Make it recent uh, or get recent opinions. So again, I know that this will be the answer because I know that many IT professions see some problem concerning the UAC. So uh, let me see what is the answer here, and let's tell ChatGPT to read it loudly.
User account control, UAC, is generally viewed as a valuable security tool in Windows, helping to prevent unauthorized changes to the system. It prompts users for permission when a program tries to make changes that require administrative rights. However, it's not without its challenges and criticisms, particularly from IT professionals who need to manage multiple systems or deal with legacy software. Many IT professionals acknowledge the security benefits of UAC, but also express frustration with its potential to interrupt workflows and the complexity it can add to system management. For example, some find UAC prompts can be disruptive, especially when frequent confirmations are required during routine administrative tasks. Others have noted issues where UAC settings can complicate software installation and updates, particularly when dealing with older software not designed with UAC in mind. There are ways to configure UAC to strike a balance between security and usability. IT admins can adjust UAC settings using group policy, tailoring the level of security versus prompt intrusiveness to better fit their environment's needs. For instance, adjusting the UAC to always notify can enhance security, but might be seen as too intrusive for some users. Conversely, lowering UAC settings can reduce interruptions, but at a potential security cost. For detailed management and configuration of UAC through policies, Windows provides extensive guidelines and settings, which can be adjusted to meet different security requirements and operational contexts. Understanding and configuring UAC to align with specific organizational needs is crucial. While it enhances security, its implementation can vary significantly depending on the specific environment and requirements. For more comprehensive guidance on UAC settings and management, refer to resources like the Windows Security Documentation on Microsoft Learn or detailed configuration guides available on platforms.
Sorry guys, let's continue. So as can see here that UAC is a good option, as we said before, but it is disrupt or interrupt some operations. For example, as we can see here, it said that implementing scripts, it can be a problem if UAC is enabled because it will always ask you to allow this script to run. So this is why I have these setting done in this way. Okay, we only see that we have two only that is not aligned with the best practices, this one and number 1 and number 6. Okay, so this I have only disabled these two, and as for the rest they are in align. If we go to the Department of Defense, let's see their setting concerning this one. If we go there to the user account control, we can see that this is enabled. This is the best practice. Number 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is enabled. As for the rest, I have already, they are aligned. Here you can see this disabled. Strangely, if we go there, it is already disabled. Okay, this is correct. This one, it is completely removed. So behavior for prompt in admin approval mode. Okay, prompt for consistent non-Windows binary. Okay, it is changed, so we can see it is changed from this to prompt for consistent on the secure desktop. So this is another one. It is changed. As for behavior of elevation for standard users, prompt for credentials, this should be closed. So this is not correct. I need to disable this for the users. So in best practice, this deny elevation. This is a good one, okay? And this should be done. Actually, this is not correct. This will allow standard users to be prompted for administrative credentials. This is not correct, because if you put your administrative credentials on a machine, if it is hacked, your administrative credentials will be stolen. Okay, so this is a good thing. As for this, it is enabled. We have it enabled. As for the sixth one, as I said before, it is disabled here, and the other one, it is enabled. Okay, as for the last two, it is enabled. So as we can see here, we have this one is disabled and this one is disabled. This is not aligned with the best practice, and this is changed. and this is changed as well. So take care of these two. But as I said before, I disabled this one and this one because it interferes with my Active Directory login script implementation. So let's continue with our lab. So here I am disabling all what is related to lock screen and desktop and screensaver from the default domain policy, and then we will apply it on different, or will be created in different group policies. So we will disable all of these. Applying OK. Not configured. So I am disabling all of it. Don't worry, we will see. So I'm disabling all of these from the default domain policy, and will apply this setting on another group policies. We'll create fresh group policies and apply this setting to it. Okay, so now I have disabled the lock screen setting. Now we need to disable the screensaver setting and the background setting. Okay, so in control panel, then personalize, we need to disable all of these. Enable screensaver. Okay, prevent the changing on desktop background. This is also will be disabled. You can see very simple, and uh, they clearly state what they do from their name. Okay, prevent the changing with screensaver. This is good if you need to prevent users from changing screensaver. Okay, we will not configure it. Then apply and OK. Then we can see password protect. If you need to disable the screensaver, you need to put your username and password so you can continue your work on your machine. Then this is the ideal time for the screensaver to work, 15 minutes. For specific screensaver, this is the location of the screensaver. So we are disabling all of that. Load specific theme. If you need your Windows theme to be in a specific color, this can be applied also using a group policy. Okay, so now we are disabling all of that. So apply and OK. Now we go to the desktop. Then we should disable. We can here see prohibit changes to the desktop. This should be a good thing to do, and we need to disable desktop. Now we will do 3 new group policies: one for the hovercraft, one for the simulation, one for the Xeon. Every one of these group policies, we will configure in it the desktop background and the screensaver. Okay, and attach it to the appropriate OU. Okay, so we do one for simulation. Okay, I'm gonna do one for Xeon. Okay, now we go to the shared folder on the server, which is backgrounds. These contain the different backgrounds for the different OUs. Okay, so if you go there, we will see 3 folders: hovercraft and simulation and Xeon. Every one will contain the background for the computers in this OU. Okay, or in every OU. Okay, so if you open that, this is in this folder. The group policy will go to backgrounds, hovercraft. This is the background picture or screen or background, desktop background. We name it background, and then we'll copy the path, okay, and put it in the group policy. So we'll right click and copy as path, and then configure the hovercraft group policy to apply this picture as a background. So tell him edit, and then what we need to do, we need to go to here. Let me show you. We need to go to, again, we need to go to personalize. Okay, not the computer. Let me continue again. So we need to go to the user setting. So we need to go to the user setting, not the computer setting. We need to go to the user, then policies, then administrative templates. Here we will configure the desktop and the screensaver, okay, for the hovercraft computers. Okay, so now we go to the control panel, then we'll go to personalization, then we go to enable screensaver. This is the first thing we need to enable. Okay, apply and okay. The screensaver, it is in the backgrounds folder, okay? It's already shared. Now we kill to prevent changing of the screensaver, applying OK. And then we need to tell him to protect the screensaver, okay? So by protecting it, you need to put a password, okay? Okay, to continue your work. Then this is 15 minutes. Then the screensaver will work. For a specific screensaver, we need to go to the location. So in the folder of backgrounds, we have a folder called matrix. This contains the screensaver. Okay, so we'll open it, right click, and copy as path. Then we put it. Remember to remove the double quote here, this and there. Remove the double quote. Okay, and then apply and OK. So now we have the screensaver enabled. Now we need to enable the desktop background, which will be different for every group of computers. Now we will tell him to desktop background, then we need to go and get the path. So we get to backgrounds, hovercraft. This is the path, copy. And then we need to enable this setting, okay, and make the wallpaper style to be stretched, not to be centered, okay? So to make the page, or to make the picture stretched across the desktop, okay? Again, we will tell him run and get the location of the background. Okay, here it is. Right click and copy as path. And paste, then change, okay, and tell him apply and okay. Then make it stretched, apply and okay. Prohibit changes if you need to prohibit any changes to be done to the desktop, changing the icons, deleting the icons. This can be a useful group policy to be applied. Anyway, so we have the first group policy configured for the hovercraft. We need to do that for the simulation and for Xeon, the same. So we'll do and repeat the same steps. Remember, we have configured the group policies, but not yet linked to the OUs, and not we don't have any security filtering yet. Okay, so wait and see. First of all, this is not done through the computer configuration. This will be done from the user configuration. So we go to the policies again, and then administrative templates. So we can see here the control panel personalization. Okay, enable screensaver. So we'll do the same. Apply and OK. Okay, prevent the changing. We have done this before, so we will repeat it. Screensaver timeout. Sports specific screensaver. Apply and OK. Need to go to the path and get the matrix screensaver. Right click and copy as path. Remember to remove the double quote here and at the end. Apply and OK. So now we have it configured. Then we go to the desktop, configure the desktop wallpaper. we need to go and enable it, and then go to the path, to backgrounds, then go to simulation, then get or rename it to make it more simple, make it background, and then copy the path and put it in the wallpaper location. So we'll copy as path, and then we'll put it there, paste, remove, tell him first to be stretched, and then remove the background. And by the way, something I need to focus on here, you need to, if you are you are trying to apply the Department of Defense default domain policy recommendations, you need to make sure that it is very stricted group policy. You need to test it to see if it will interfere with your operation in your network, because this is very, very restrictive. Maybe some applications will be interfered by this tight security. So you need to test it thoroughly. Choose what is suitable for your environment, not to apply it completely. You need to test it thoroughly in a virtual environment. Okay, so this is one thing to note. Okay, let's go and continue. So now we have the simulation GPO configured. Then we go to the Xeon. Then we need to edit. Go to the policies, go to administrative templates. Go to the control panel, then personalize, enable screensaver. Okay, we'll do the same. And okay. Prevent changes. Password protect. Find OK. Screensaver enable. Find OK. Force screensaver. We need to put the location. Double click. Enable and put the screensaver location matrix, and then get copy as path. Copy as path, then put the location, remove the quota. Applying OK. Then we have the desktop, and then the wallpaper. We will configure this one. So we go to the backgrounds, and then we go to Xeon, and then rename it to be more standardized. So we have our background name standardized. Okay, so have a naming convention for our background picture. Copy it and put it in the wallpaper name. Stretch, then we'll put it there, paste, remove the double quote, and then apply and OK. Now we have all of the group policies configured. Now we need to go to the next step to link every group policy to the appropriate location. First of all, we need to put the mapping policy to be applied to the top level domain. We need to have our group policy of mapping to be applied to all of the domain. Okay, this is the first one we need to make sure to be added. First, we need to apply every group policy to every OU, hovercraft group policy to hovercraft OU. Simulation OU will be linked to simulation group policy. Everyone will contain the desktop background and the screensaver, and we need to go to the Xeon and do the same. So this is why we had made a separate group policy for each one of these OUs, because each OU or each group policy will contain a different desktop background. Okay, so now we have all of them linked. Now we need to add the mapping group policy to be at the top level domain. It will be applied to all the domain. So every department will have a certain folder appearing for it. So we have the default domain policy and the mapping policy at the top level. Then we will link a couple of things for the admins. The classic shell admin will be linked to the admins in every OU. So we go to the simulation. Remember classic shell, we have said what is classic shell. Okay, we will link to it the classic shell policy admin. This is very simple. You can see the naming is very simple, and you can recognize it very easily. So right click and link classic shell admin. If you need to know what this group policy is, you need to revise or go to the previous video. Okay, so now we have everything linked. Now we need to link to the users the limited or classic shell limited group policy. So we link it classic shell policy limited. We'll do that for every OU. They go to the simulation for AI users. Okay, limited, and then we can go to the users in Xeon. We will do the same for every user's OU under every location. Okay, so now we have this linked. Now we need to link another thing. We need to link the WSOS policy also to the computers. This policy is for the computers, not the servers. But before that, we have two policies: advanced users group policy and default users group policy. We need to have in every organizational unit in Hovercraft, we need to have in the security groups a group called advanced users. So every OU, we need to have two groups: advanced users and limited users. These groups, we will use them to apply to them certain group policies. For example, the advanced users, we will create a group policy that will open the DVD and CD for them. As for the limited users group, we will apply to them a group policy that will close the USB and DVD. So we need to have two groups in every location. We didn't create that, or the script, I forgot to add two groups in every OU, advanced and limited, so we'll create them manually and put some users in it so we can apply to it the advanced users group policy and the default users group policy. The first one will allow some USB and DVD or USB and DVD to be opened for some users, and the other will close them. Okay, so let's see how we can do that. So we'll copy this name and create a group policy. Sorry, I'll create a security group. Name it a group, and then we can say this is advanced for the Hovercraft. ADV is abbreviation for advanced. We will do that, and we'll create another one. Here we'll put the definition. Okay, matrix advanced Hovercraft users or Hovercraft advanced users. So we can apply it and then create another group. You right click and create another group. We will tell it limited. If we can see, if you see the graph here, guys, maybe you need to see the graph to illustrate more. Here is the advanced users group policy. Okay, USB and DVD and the default. As you can see from this graph, here is the users OU. We will link this group to, or link this group policy to a group policy called, or to a use or a group called advanced, and we will link this group policy to users called limited, not default. Okay, so this is how we will do that. Now we are currently creating these two groups, then we will link them to these two organizational two group policies. Okay, so this is one thing to take note. Apply and OK. Now we can go to simulation. We will do the same, just copying the name, the naming convention, and then we will right click, new group, Control V, and then change it to ADV. Okay, advanced. Okay, simulation advanced users. Remember, these group or security groups is blank. There is no members. We need to add some members because when we create a virtual machine as a workstation and join it to the domain, we will test every one of these users, okay, to see different group policies applied to them. Okay, so now we will have SM. Now we tell him limited, LIM, abbreviation for limited. Then we can type description. Simulation limited users, applying OK. Now we can go to the Xeon, the last one, and create the last two groups. Okay, group Xeon, okay, and then we'll put advance. Now we can put the description Xeon advanced users. So we'll copy this name and then make another one. So we need to put the description here. This is not, we will type, we'll put it Xeon limited users. Users. Applying OK. So we can go and link the group policies now, but before that we need to put some members in every one of these groups. We will make group nesting. We will put a group in a group, so we don't need to put or select the users one by one. We will put a certain group of users to be in the advanced users group and a certain group of users to be in the limited users group. Okay, so before that we need to go and put some members. Okay, so here I forgot that I need to add members to each group. So we will go and add it. Again, I forgot we need to go here. I'm just remembering, or just remember that I need to put in every group some users. So we'll go to the members and add, or we make group nesting. We will add a couple or we add one group in this group. So we now go to advance, and then we can choose, for example, I will get the engineering group in the hovercraft OU to be a member of the advanced users. So we have an engineering group called matrix eng HV. Okay, this is the engineering group. We will put it in the advanced users group. So we are make group nesting. Make sure to make this in a very limited scope. Don't use the group nesting a lot. Okay, we have seen this as the best recommendation from the AI. Okay, so we have this in advanced, and then we go to the limited. We will add another group. The medic group will be in the limited hovercraft users or limited hovercraft users group. Okay, the medic. Okay, here's the medic. And then okay. Applying okay. Then we'll do the same for simulation, and for Xeon we need to choose or to put some members. So we go to the advanced, then we will put members here in the security group. Okay, we will choose a group. So here, for example, we can choose the exile, for example, group of exiles. Anyway, we can choose any group we like just to test and see the different group policies. So exile group, or the group's exile members, or exile simulation users members. Then we will add to the limited, we will add the synthetics group to the limited users group. Here you go, matrix synthetics or programs. I think synthetics will be better. The robots. Applying OK. Then we need to go to the last one for Xeon and then add the members. We can add advanced users, the hackers group, to the advanced users maybe. Or the resistance fighters. And we can make the limited users the hackers to have them limited maybe. Anyway, so choose any group you like and put it in these groups, okay? You can see the naming convention is easy, so you can recognize the OU and the group easily. Okay, so now we put the hackers, okay, and then apply it, okay. Then we need to go and attach the different group policies. First of all, we will apply the advanced users group policy and the default users group policy or limited users group policy. It will be applied at the top level domain. So we put them at the top level domain. Then we will make some security filtering. So although it is in the top domain, so it means that it will be applied to all, it will not be applied to all. We will put a security filter to apply it to specific groups in the domain. So link an existing GPO, advanced users group policy. So we'll apply them both. Okay. Okay, this will be applied to certain groups. Okay, so let's go and see first what we mean by that. Here we will remove authenticated users. We don't, authenticated users means any user that is successfully authenticated to the domain by providing his username and password and join the domain or access the domain. This will be put in the authenticated users. This means all of the users in the domain. Okay, authenticated ones successfully logged into the domain. Okay, so we don't need that. We need to apply the advanced users group policy to the advanced users group in every OU. Okay, the hovercraft advanced users will be added here. The advanced users in simulation will be added here. The advanced users in Xeon will be added here. As for the default users group or the limited users groups, the hovercraft limited users group will be added there. The limited simulation users group will be added there. The limited Xeon groups will be added there. So this is basically what we will do. First of all, another note, if you remove authenticated users, what we need to do, we need to go to delegation and add a group called domain computers, which contains all of the computers and servers in the domain. This is a group that will contain all the computers and servers in the domain except for the domain controllers, which have a separate group, I think. So we need to give it read permission on this group policy. So if we leave this group policy as is and try to apply it, it will be applied. Okay, but if we remove the authenticated users, as we will see now, a message will appear saying that if you do that and add any other group, this group policy will be applied unless you go to the delegation and put the domain computers group and give it read permission on this group policy. Take very good care from this one. Okay, so we tell him remove. We will see this. Okay, requires each computer account to have permission to read GPO data from a domain controller in order for user groups policy setting to be successfully applied. Removing the authenticated users may prevent processing of users group policies. Please add the domain computers of the authenticated user security group with at least read permissions to the delegation. Okay, so this is one thing to take or to note. Add, then we will add, let me show you, we will add one everyone, so we can see. Let me show you. So we will add advance in Xeon, advance in simulation, advance in matrix, advance in hovercraft. Okay, saying that I have added already. So we have simulation advanced users, Xeon advanced users. So we need to add the hovercraft advanced users. Okay, check. Now we have all of them added. We need to go to the delegation, okay, and add domain computers. Okay, so we have domain computers. This was a problem for me because when Microsoft released this change in group policies structure, I have some group policies that was not applied, okay, because of this change. Okay, so now we go to the default users group policy. We will remove authenticated. Okay, and then we will add the different uh, groups. Okay, so claim okay. Now we will I am adding the different groups. Okay, simulation. Okay, and then Xeon. So we have all of them added. Okay, so this is how you can filter the group policy or to exclude users or to include users from some group policies to be applied. Okay, so now we go to delegation and add domain computers and give it read permission. Okay, so this is now we have already everything. I am just revising here every group policy, the location and the group, the location and the group, the location and the group, the location and the group. So every group policy has a location and the group to be applied to. Mapping, simulation. We have the WSOS policy. We forgot to link it. We need it to be applied to the workstations, so we need to do that. We need to link it to every computer group in the every OU. So we will apply this to terminals and robots. I forgot to do that. Okay, so link WSOS policy. We have a separate group policy or WSOS group policy for the mainframes or the servers. This will be done later when we configure the WSOS server. So I linked it to WSOS policy. Okay, and now we can add the Xeon terminals. We will link to existing GPO, and then we will put the WSOS policy. Now we can go and revise everything, the group objects. Now we can see every group policy is linked to an OU and the object it will be applied to in this OU. Okay, so we see everything. Now we need to restart and see the different group policies. So for example, we need to see the hovercraft, or sorry, the simulation background. We need to see the background applied. So let's wait and see how this will be done. So now I am going and we will log in and restart the server to see the effect or the change. Okay, so now we will put the password and then make a restart. So we will close the console and then make a restart. So right click and restart to see what is the effect. Okay, so we'll continue and restart. Remember, there will be a hang and then actually there will be another hang, okay, or another crash. So this is logic. We have said this is a canary edition, so maybe there is some bugs, okay, that will appear in this version. Okay, so we'll make a restart or power off. Restart. This can be restarted. Okay, can be restarted, and then we will log in back. So we can make it further. Here we can see the matrix domain. This is changed. Okay, and then we'll put the password RAUF, then the password. Okay, applying registry keys and so on. So you can see also there will be another hang. Okay, there. So I'll make power off and then make it back. Okay, again. So here I am just powering off because there was a problem. So we will restart back again. Then we'll log in back. And put the password. So now we have everything up and running. Okay, the shutdown event tracker, we have seen this before. So I think now we have everything up and running. We can just close the server or take a snapshot before creating the additional domain controller. So everything is there and working. So what we need to do now, we need to I think we need to get the WinVer here. I'm just saying the version. It's 23H2 data center operating system. It will expire at 16/09 2024. This is evaluation 1. So now we can I think we can close the software. Okay, or first we need to take a snapshot and then close the virtual machine as a whole, preparing ourselves for the next video. We will create another virtual machine which will be an additional domain controller, file server, Dabisos, DHCP. Now we are getting to the stop icons just to display the control panel and a couple of icons so I can easily manage this operating system. Okay, so I applied OK, personalize, then right click personalize, and then personalize menu, and then we can see this control panel and my user profile folders. We need to make the category icons small. Okay, so now we can go back. Okay, this is the credential manager. We don't need it. We need to make sure the power options. So we have a group policy to apply, or the default domain policy contains some power options policy. I need to make never and never for the display and for the computer. Okay, this is applied using the default domain policy. Okay, so we will, before clicking on shutdown or restart, we need to, I will cancel, and first I need to take a snapshot. Okay, VMware, and then tell him to take a snapshot. Okay, take a snapshot before additional domain controller. This is because the firewall is closed. We have said before why we need to close the firewall. So we'll take a snapshot, and then after finishing we will close the server completely. So this concludes the end, or this is the end of our video. The upcoming video will begin working with creating a second virtual machine, install Windows Server 2025 on it, install Active Directory services, domain services, promote the server to be an additional domain controller, then continue working to install file server feature, Dabisos feature, DHCP feature, configure all of these, and apply and working with the mapping group policy after our file server is created and after our Dabisos is created. We will play with the Dabisos policy. Hope this video was informative to you all, and thank you all for viewing. Thank you so much.